Welcome back, tennis obsessors, to a very special video where today we're going to be doing a review of the first racket release of the year in the new Vcore 95. It has a stunning paint job, but can it play as well as it looks? Let's find out. First, the specs of the racket. 95 square inch head, of course, 310 grams, beam width of 22 millimeters, a 16 by 20 string pattern, and a balance point of 310 millimeters, making it quite headlight. Strung the racket with the head links tour at 51 pounds. If you want to see this racket featured in my perfect setup series, where I look at different stringing setups and different rackets to find the best one, then leave a comment down below on what string you want to see in this, or even a hybrid setup. Before I talk about how this racket is played, I want to mention the questions I had before going into playing with this. Of course, I will still discuss any relevant points about the racket throughout the video, as well as the questions. So here's what I wanted to be answered. What's the level of topspin considering it's a 95 and a 16 by 20? Can you still rip a good flat shot with this? What's the power, control and feel like? What's it like on the one-handed backhand? And is a 95 square inch head going to make this racket too difficult to play with, even though it's an isometric head shape? Now, let's get straight into the review.
Here we have my first ever hit with the racket. I decided to show you and discuss how the racket fell to my hand before I settled into it with some points play. I wanted to give my first thoughts on it, as the ball you hit in the warm-up is different to your match play ball.
Now, my first thoughts, I will say, not as high of a launch angle as I was expecting for a Vcore. I know it's been a 95 and not a 16 by 19. Launch angle at times a lot lower than I think it would be. Very solid through the air, and there's no buckle in the hand. It's quite a mid-ranged power racket by the first hits anyway. We'll see how it plays when it gets to some proper rallies, but it seems like it's quite a point and shoot. Very low, so hitting flat is actually quite easy. Hit a couple more balls and let's see how it plays further slice. I'm going to show you from a different angle what I mean with the launch angle being a lot lower than other Vcore I thought should. Coming up the back of it, a lot less spin. Perfect on the one hand now. First thing to note, very stable. Such a solid racket in the hand, and in every shot, it's not buckling at all, no matter where I hit it. Feels more like a 97 to a 98 square inch head than 95, which is, you know, what anyone wants. More margin for error. Feels like when I hit to about here, still going where I wanted to. Fabulous direction. Next thing to note, quite low, so you have to generate the spin yourself, but then it's helped by the racket. You have to have the top spin stroke, and then you get the benefit of a Vcore spin. Strung, of course, with the links tour makes it quite a bit more controlled as well, being basically a 127 instead of a 125. So let's get into some bigger rallies. Let's try and hit some winners, some drop shots, then we'll move on to serves and volleys.
I do just want to mention that I think I set up the swing vision stick wrong in this video, so the stats you see were kind of messed up, so don't take it all as entirely accurate. The first point to make is that there is no easy spin. It has to be generated by good technique. This is due to it having a very low launch angle. I must say this was surprising considering it is a Vcore. Even though it's a 95, I expected it to be higher. Although this can suit certain styles of play. The racket has a 2G enamored flex force in the shaft, and this is a carbon nanotube structure that binds the graphite fibers together, in turn lowering energy loss. This allows you to play more of an aggressive topspin shot instead of looping them. I will talk a bit later about the power of the racket, but I do think this technology has helped the racket a little. Now, this racket is up there with one of the best, if not the best racket I have used for direction. It's the literal definition of point and shoot. Now, they have two bits of technology in the racket to help with this. The first is servo filter in the frame. This is an elastic film in between graphite layers, which absorb vibrations, adds flex to the frame and snapback to give precise sensory feedback on the ball. And second is a vibration dampening mesh in the handle. This is a stretchy mesh material that is wrapped around the graphite in the grip. It helps filter the unwanted vibrations, but also improves your touch and precision. Now for the power. There isn't a lot to say apart from it having low to mid level. The footwork, dipping, timing, all of it has to be on point to get a cracking shot out of the racket. Although there is less forgiveness for power, there is more forgiveness on the actual string bed. Let me explain. So Yonex rackets have an isometric head shape which enlarges the sweet spot by 7% compared to other rackets with the same head size, so a 95 can feel like a 97 sometimes. But they have introduced, in this Vcore, liner tech. These are straight hole grommets instead of angled ones to allow for more movement of the string when the shot is hit off-centered. It just gives that extra bit of forgiveness alongside the isometric head shape, and I will say it rarely felt like it ever hit off-center with this racket. I would love to blame that miss on this racket, but I just can't. One of the best features of the racket is how stable it is. There is zero buckle no matter what shot you are receiving or hitting, and even where you are hitting on the racket. You can hit it at the very edge of the string bed and it still won't twist. You also don't need to grip hard to get the stability, so you can keep the loose wrist and still feel confident in the racket. I also came back a second time to hit with the racket to be able to reevaluate some parts of it and find out if what went wrong in my first hit was me or the racket. So that's why there's two separate bits of footage in this video. My first time using the racket, it felt very sluggish through the air. I was surprised about this considering Yonex introduced the aero trench, which hides the grommets on the top of the frame, allowing you to swing faster due to there being less drag. But then I came back a second time and found I had adjusted better to the racket and was able to whip it more. An example is the shot where I approached the net and it went long in the first session, happened in the second session multiple times and I didn't miss them, so I just needed to adjust a bit more to the racket. It took around 3 hours of solid hitting to fully understand it. This racket has a fabulous slice. The low launch angle and stability of the racket help it rip through like a knife through butter. You do feel like you can hit Federer level slices with this. I personally don't like the Lynx Tour in this racket, as I want a bit more power from it. If your game is all out control, then you will like it, but I feel like I wanted a thinner gauge at about a 125 and for the string to be edged. I know the Lynx Tour is technically a 125, but it's known that it's more like a 127/130. Some strings I would like to try are like the Hyper G, Pure Rush, and my tournament string of the Qualia Talk Squared. Because of the stability and low power of the racket, its control is top notch. Very easy to block shots and keep them consistent. And even though this Vcore was made to be stiffer than the previous model, it does still feel quite soft on the arm, which I am always a fan of with my dodgy joints. My first serving session with this racket went, dare I say, appalling. So bad I don't even want to show the footage. But the one issue with it was I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I was trying a lot of different techniques and nothing was working. But when I came back up the second time, suddenly the serve was working nicely. Decent amount of pace and consistency. The main problem I will say is the racket just didn't allow me to hit the serve flat. I had to brush at the ball a lot more than usual, so I was almost hitting a kick serve on every serve. It became easy to direct where I wanted the serve to go, just impossible to hit it flat, which I found kind of weird. I'm convinced this racket was made for one-handed backhand players. The large sweet spot for a 95 and the stability allows your backhand to shine. I felt I could keep it going forever. It's also very nice to rip it flat if the ball is a little higher. I'd say this racket is designed for people who like to keep consistent. They don't mind settling into long rallies and moving their opponent from side to side, but they don't try and blast them off the court. It could be good for doubles players because of how good the volleys are and how consistent you can keep your cross-court rallies. Am I going to be switching to this? Probably not. I may try different setups in this racket if that's what you want to see, and then if one of them really works with my game, then I may consider it. But for me, I just wanted to have a little bit more power. I try and play aggressive tennis and outpower my opponent, and I just think this is just not going to help me with that. As always, thank you for watching the video. I'm currently working on the Vcore 98 review, so subscribe to the channel with the notification turned on so you don't miss that when it drops. I'm going to be putting my tournament and match play string, the Qualia Torque Squared, in this Vcore. So if you want to see the review of that, then leave a comment down below. And if you want to get your hands on those strings, then go to qualiasport.com and use the discount code OBSESSED at checkout for 20% off. And I will see you in the next one.